Comrade Show, wait, Comrade Lante Oriahi, like us, follow us, and be the first to know. This is the Comrade Show.
The reason behind your leaving the PDP?
Well, let me correct the first impression. He said it's about
Comrade Show.
party. Is the PDP party is like an association. You have freedom of association. You have freedom to go in, freedom to go out. It's a relationship thing. And when you go into a relationship thing, an association, you go in there for a reason. And if you feel that maybe the activities that you go on is at variance with your own person and your principles, the only thing you can do is to quietly and decently leave the place. And that's what I did. You could see my write-up to the chairman of the party. There was no tone there that shows any quarrel or anything. I thank them for the opportunity of being their member, opportunity of associating myself there, and said, going on, I found out that I can no longer continue because of some activities I believe that are at variance with my person and my principles.
What kind of
and
things like that?
Well, they're personal to me.
Okay.
Quite frankly, there's nothing. It's just like I always tell people, the process through which you get into arrive at any destination, especially when it comes to seeking a public office, is as fundamental as what you do thereafter. So for me, I want to be able to follow a process that I believe in. Some people will tell you, do anything, when you get there you can correct it. No, I don't believe in that. The process must be same as what I do thereafter. As a politician, I have campaigned, I've gone around the country, I've done what I'm supposed to do, presented myself to the people, and if I find out there's other things I might not be able to be part of, I decently withdrew myself. There was no issue.
Yes, hello, Nigerians across the world. Greetings to you all. This is the Comrade Show, and my name is Comrade Lamte Bonsa Orahi. I am glad to welcome you to this broadcast. Please, if you are joining us, help share this broadcast. It is Sunday, the 29th day of May 2022. And of course, there's a lot to talk about, but we're going to try to be as concise as possible. Let's not forget that the reason why we are committed to this process is that we want to contribute to making it possible for us to have a new Nigeria. And of course, the road to 2023 is one road that is definitely going to give birth to so many things, so many issues, so many things, some of which probably this nation may never have experienced, in our own history. Some of which, would help shape the future of this country, whether for good or for bad. And so therefore, for every major event that takes place, somehow we're going to be looking at them and looking at how these events contribute towards making us have a new Nigeria born. Yesterday was a big day because the People's Democratic Party had their presidential primaries. Big day because the future of this country today, okay, is majorly dependent on the outcome of these primaries from the various political parties. Because at the end of the day, it is from among these political parties that Nigeria will make, the larger Nigerian society will be making a choice to choose a president. And the leader we have today, particularly looking at the helm of affairs led by President Muhammadu Buhari, and of course the outcome of what the policies and implementations of the programs of this government has come to show us that the future of our nation is hugely dependent on what we get from the people we make the leaders of this country by way of elections and all of that. And so the PDP primaries is very important. and of course we have to talk about it. Now we're going to talk. I'm going to be talking about these PDP primaries, on a general note, and I'm going to be narrow it down to the implications of Atiku's emergence on Edo State. Edo State. Edo State, because I've looked around all the other states, Edo State has a peculiar situation, a peculiar issue with Edo State. And again, I am from Edo State, and somehow, because of what some of us have done, to leading to the emergence of the governor of Edo State currently, as the second term governor of Edo State. We are very strongly connected to the process. Now, I'm going to try to zero these and, of course, make sense out of all of them to make Nigerians see the reason why we must consider Peter Obi as a man of foresight, particularly with the decision he took very early, earlier this week, to say he's leaving the PDP, because as a man of foresight, he had seen what the PDP outcome is going to be. And that is why I played this video I just played earlier, for the man, Peter Obi, to explain the reason why he left the PDP. Now, I'm going to start again, actually, with Peter Obi, you understand? But before I do that, I want to establish, as I sit here, one of the things I was thinking about, was, should I actually start this program by congratulating Atiku Abubakar? It was a big question in my mind. Should I congratulate Atiku Abubakar for emerging as the candidate of the PDP? Anyhow, I resolved that I am going to congratulate him because he is right now the flag bearer of the PDP. However, my congratulations to Atiku Abubakar is one born with so much burden. So much burden because when I looked at the process that has thrown up Atiku Abubakar right now as the candidate of the PDP, I wept for this nation. I am still weeping for this nation. Because the PDP primaries of yesterday is just, again, it crystallizes the status quo, what has always been, how it has always been. For me, I see the process from what is not revealed to the public as a flawed process. And many people say, why is it a flawed process? It is flawed because this was an electoral process, primaries sold to the highest bidder. This was a process that was sold to the highest bidder. At the end of the day, it was a process too that further tell us that the southern Nigerian political elite, they are still sleeping, while the northern political elite, they are like 500 years ahead. It's a process that has further revealed that in this nation called Nigeria, if this status quo is to be maintained, if things has to continue the way they have been for more than 60 years, there is no way the cry for justice will ever hold sway. There is no way the rules of equity, balance, and fairness will ever hold sway. Because some people believe that it is their birthright to continue to govern this country, Nigeria. Even when we see that the thing that is driving the interest, the corruption that is driving the interest, the resources to this corruption that these people are looting is coming from just one part of the nation. This one part is the one part that is hugely undermined by this nation. Yet, justice is never prevalent. Yet, balance and fair play is never given her priority, as it were. Yet, The consideration of what the future of this country might be is never a consideration at all. What the people see, particularly those of the Southern divide, is what goes into their pocket. What the people see, particularly those from the Northern divide, is what they can do to ensure that power remain in the North. And so therefore, intrigues, plays, this everything come into this matter. Whatever I'm explaining right now is trying to let us know that some of those reasons why Peter Obi left the PDP, that he cannot actually tell the public because of, the what's it called, his own position right now, and the sensitivity of his own position right now as a human being and as a politician and as one who is trying to forge a new Nigeria. But I'm telling you this, that these are all the things that have characterized the process leading to Atiku Abubakar. Of course, we have heard, allegations of some. In fact, I have pictures. I don't know if I'm able to get those pictures right now of so much dollars paid to delegates. Not just Atiku, every of the aspirants is alleged to be guilty of this. At the end of the day, the highest bidder. Now, one funny thing, not really funny, but one strategic thing that took place yesterday was Tambuwa last minute withdrawing from the race and, of course, asking his own delegates to support Atiku Abubakar. It's all the part of the game plan to ensure that power remains with the Fulanis in this country. This same Tambuwa is one man our brother Governor Nyesom Wike, stood for at a time and got bruised for. When it was time for this same Tambuwa to look around and say, okay, I'm withdrawing from this race. Whom do I stand for? On a fair ground, you probably were expecting to stand for somebody who stood for, who has always, been by him, politically and otherwise, which is Nyesom Wike. But he rather chose to stand by his own brother because there's an arrangement that the certain political elites don't see. When many of us were advocating to say, look, the most beautiful bride we have today across this space is Peter Obi. And we're expecting people like Governor Wike to throw their weight behind Peter Obi, to take their muzzle to. This is one man that we can sell to everybody in this country. But what they were doing rather was to betray themselves. Meanwhile, those in the north, General Gusau was on ground yesterday, according to what we heard. One of the, political gladiators in the north, you don't often see, in the media, you don't often hear much about, but they are the ones who broker what happens in the north. They were on ground to seal this arrangement and all of that. And at the end of the day, outrightly, the PDP primaries would have been won. As a matter of fact, hours before the primaries was conducted, Wike was in the lead. Nyesom Wike was in the lead. But this was seen, and the northern political, elites, they came together and said, no, we don't want this thing to be with these guys in the south because this is the arrangement. Some of them have boasted that their forefathers made the arrangement. They consolidated on the arrangement. They are upholding that arrangement. Their children's children will keep up with that arrangement. Unfortunately, if this arrangement is one that will speak to the continuity of the Nigerian state, well, it remains to be seen. However, because some of us love Nigeria, because of some of us have seen the potentials in this country, Nigeria, and the possibilities that are bound for this country to become the greatest country in the history of humanity because of the beauty of our diversities, because of the beauty and endowment of this nation, we will continue to speak for justice, for balance, for fair play, for equity as far as this country is concerned. And to that extent, I will say that Atiku has emerged as the flag bearer of the PDP. I congratulate him. But I feel very sad that the process was not a conscientiously transparent process. It was a process that was flawed because it was a process sold to the highest bidder. I am not just trying to cast aspersion at Atiku, because everybody in the game played the same way, as dirty as I'm explaining. Governor Wike, as a matter of fact, started playing his own long before now. Unfortunately, Wike happens to have an approach that is very loud, garrulous, boastful, uh, not running away from troubles, making problems with everybody. And so therefore, even before these primaries, a lot of people already had it in mind that whatever they can do to make sure they undo Wike, they will do, because of his own, very garrulous and of course disrespectful antecedents. Otherwise, Wike had played his game very well. If it was a ground where people consider justice, fair play, and equity, when Obi had left the party PDP, to be very honest, justice and equity, fair play demands that the person who ought to be the flag bearer of the PDP is Governor Nyesom Wike. But I can say that Governor Nyesom Wike Achilles heel will definitely chase him. Not just for this PDP primaries, he's going to chase him almost forever, because Nyesom Wike has not been that man that has packaged himself sellable as a human being to such an exalted position. So I feel sorry for Nyesom Wike, because if PDP had given him the ticket, he would have at least appealed to some segment of the society to say, okay, at least some fair play has been kind of looked into by the PDP arrangements. We did say when Ayu was elected or selected or nominated or whatever to become the national party chairman of the PDP, some of us knew that this whole arrangement was to eventually throw up Atiku as the flag bearer of the PDP. And of course, we've seen it today. So, I want to salute the foresight and the wisdom of Peter Obi. I want to salute that foresight. I'm coming to Edo State, because Edo State has a peculiar situation. I'm coming to that. I want to salute the foresight of Peter Gregory Obi for the decision he took days ago. Otherwise, yesterday, he would have been messed up by these people. And what Peter Obi refused to do was to play the game the same way it was played by this political whatever, as it were, in Nigeria. Doling out money, buying up the delegates, some as much as $20,000 and all of that. I have pictures of dollars, packaged and shared around. I'm going to try to get some of them, if not in this broadcast, in my subsequent broadcast, to show Nigerians why some of these things will always remain issues. In the meantime, please, if you are joining help share this broadcast, it's going to be as much as possible. We're going to try to make sense of this whole matter. And of course, the reason why I'm making this broadcast is for us to know that the inevitability of us chasing a new Nigeria led by a decent man who believes that the process that throw you up is not different from what you are going to do if you are given a chance to lead the country. Who believes that the process that brings you up must be a process that is not flawed, because the process that brings you up is a direct reflection of what you will be when you get the mandate to lead the country. So if he cannot work with a flawed process where money is deciding, where antics and undoing of self and of so many egoisms and osinamotos are taking place, then he would rather part way with that process. Let's hear again from Peter Obi, and I'll come back, and you probably we know why we are doing what we are doing. Share this broadcast, please. You heard from the horse's mouth. So the process that is leading you to the destination must not be different from what you reflect in that destination. So it's very clear that the man has looked at the PDP arrangement. He saw that he could not, do this. It's at variance with his belief. It's at variance with exactly what he's chasing. And he did make a case to say that he's not desperate. If he's desperate at all, his desperation is whichever way for us to build a new Nigeria. A Nigeria that will care for education. A Nigeria that will care for the human beings in Nigeria. A Nigeria that will tackle insecurity. A Nigeria that will make the country a country which blessing is truly reflected in the people of the country. So therefore, looking at what the president of PDP, of course, it is not something Peter Obi, would be proud of at the end of the day. And so therefore, he has left the PDP. And now it's now left for Nigerians to sit down and ponder. We have had series of elections. If we want to talk about this, this particular republic that we are right now, this whole arrangement of that began since 1999 with Obasanjo and every other thing. Let us look at all of the processes and let us look at where we are and where we are coming from. How much change can we truly say yes we have had to making this country a better place? For the first time in the history of this country, of course, since in the recent history of this country, we are getting the consciousness that there's a possibility that if we make the right choices to determine who leads this country, the fortunes of this country definitely will change if we make the right choices. And today, there's no guessing the fact, whether we want to play politics with this or not, that one of those beautiful brides, one of those right persons that we can speak out for confidently, without fear of contradiction, is the person of Peter Gregory Obi. But we're going to make that case even further. Yes, Atiku has emerged. I congratulate him for his emergence, whichever way. But these are the figures. There were 764 vote cast, 752 valid votes, 12 votes, void. In the whole, Atiku was able to pull 371 votes. Meanwhile, Governor Nyesom Wike pulled 237 votes. Saraki pulled 70 votes. Udom pulled 38 votes. Bala Mohammed pulled 20 votes. Pius Ayin pulled 14 votes. Mrs. Tari, 1 vote. Sam, 1 vote. So that's how it was. Of course, if Tambuwa had not pulled out of this race, Tambuwa probably would have divided the votes of, Atiku Abubakar. And that would have given a clear chance, a clear road, a clear chance for Atiku to emerge as the flag bearer of PDP. If Tambuwa did not pull out of the race, you understand what I'm saying now? He would have shared some of those votes with Atiku, and I can tell you, he would have been able to pull over 100, if not more than 150, from Atiku's delegate count, and that would have given clear victory to Governor Nyesom Wike. But I want to say, like I've said previously, that Nyesom Wike, of course, built himself to even attain this level, and all of that. However, in the process of building himself, he did create confusion in many different places, including Edo State. And I'm going to tell you, it's zero down now to Edo State. And then I'll come back to Peter Obi. Don't go away. Don't go away. This is very important. The topic, of this discourse today, it's what's it called? Road to Nigeria 2023, Atiku's PDP victory, Edo State implications, and of course PDP. Peter Obi's Foresight. That is where we are. Now let me zero down quickly to Edo State, the implication of Atiku's victory on the Edo State political landscape. Now, many people are watching this broadcast that may not be from Edo State, that may not know exactly, what his development is in Edo State. But I'm going to try to, make some sense out of this. For those who may not know me, I am one of those persons who, like this, I was very vocal. We did a lot with my team to support the governor of Edo State to win the 2020, governorship elections in Edo State. But because, again, just like Nigeria is at the moment, because, again, we came to the realization that if Edo State must have a different narrative, we must change, the status quo. We must change, what has been, as far as Edo State is concerned. And so we did what we had to do and all of that. And of course, the governor of Edo State emerged, and today is the governor of Edo State. And rising from his emergence, on the goodwill of the majority of the Edo people, super majority of Edo people home and abroad and all of that. So a lot had been developing in Edo State. Shortly after, we came to find out that, Edo State PDP, became a PDP with fractions. 2 fractions, 1 layer to the governor of Edo State, and 1 layer to one Chief Dan Obi, who's currently is a national vice president of the PDP South. And we came to find out too that Dan Obi is a loyal subject of Governor Nyesom Wike. And of course, some information out there, equally said that Governor Nyesom Wike had been pumping money into Edo State PDP because he was looking to this yesterday, that the possibility of him emerging as a candidate of the PDP. And so therefore, he needed to keep the Edo State delegates intact and all that. So when the governor of Edo State came in, knowing for why he's the leader of Edo State, his own interest became an interest that counted in the process. And his interest started clashing with the interest of Governor Nyesom Wike. Nyesom Wike wanted to be in control of the Edo State delegates. And so to be in control of the Edo State delegates, he needed to ensure that he oiled the ways of Chief Dan Obi to keep the one people they call legacy PDP together, so that at the end of the day, you will have, of course, the loyalty of all of them, and all that. So, but again, going into the process, they've had their congresses done, they had the original delegates done and every other thing, and the struggle and the squabbles was there. The governor said he's the leader of the party and all of that, and Danobi says, I mean, you are just coming in, we need to negotiate, that you are leader of the party. So there's been these squabbles for a couple of months or so. I have refused to actually talk about the politics of Edo State. Because of how dirty it became, and of course, because you could not make projections that may not be, bounce on your face later, because the thing was just swinging left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and all of that. And so, leading to when to have the proper delegates in Edo State and all of that, there's been series of meetings, agreements and disagreements, blah 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 here and there, and all. And we're watching the drama play out. One court injunction from here, another one from there, counter injunction, appeal court, high court, federal court, high court, blah, blah. Too many dirty things on the field that put some of us off, because somehow when you expected leadership, and people to, reach a consensus and have an agreement that is not just for their own selfish interest alone, but in the interest of the generality of the people of Edo State. Every party was just being selfish. Every party was just being selfish. And, from the Danobi side, Governor Wike was, continuing to oil the process. You understand what I'm saying now? Contributed hugely to destabilizing the political system and structure in Edo State for his own selfish and personal interest. But I don't blame Wike at all. I don't blame him at all. I do blame the people who are supposed to take responsibility in Edo State to put the house in order and, of course, keep everybody together so Edo State can change one front. But that did not happen. So what happened was that in the process, because of the amended Electoral Act, it was no longer possible for the old delegates they had, rising from the congresses they've had previously, before the governor came into the party. It was no longer possible for that to happen, because the new arrangement now made room for an election of 3 ad hoc members, as delegates, for the primaries of House of Assembly, Senate, and the House of Reps, and all of those things here and there. Now, what we have today is that there's been a tussle to say, oh, the side loyal to the governor of Edo State, they are the authentic PDP. And that of loyal to Dan Obi, and of course, subsequently loyal to the use of Wike, they are the authentic ones. And so, therefore, what we've had in the primaries of the House of Assembly, of House of Reps, the Senate, we've had parallel, primaries here. Because at the end of the day, when they were electing the ad hoc delegates, the governor had his own election of ad hoc delegates. The Danobi side equally had theirs. When they were having the primaries, the governor had his own primaries. The Danobi side had their own primaries and all of that. And so we were now waiting for who is the authentic group of PDP in Edo State. Which is the authentic group? That had been the issue. So a lot of people have been there talking. Many of them, we just chose not to talk, because this was, for me, at first, I resolved that this is a matter that is not chasing my interests in Edo State, or the interest of the United of people of Edo State. But it was a matter that was oiling the interest of the political leaders, whether on the side of the governor, on the side of Peter Obi, or the external forces using Peter Obi to make sure this matter lasts long, and even for the politicians too that are aligning with either side. I actually did not see any politician in Edo State loud enough to say, look, let us truly bring all of these parties together so everybody can work for the interest of Edo State alone. So to that extent, when it became selfish, okay, some of us just decided to look. But now we can talk, because somehow we have gotten to a point where we must now, talk, and of course, we've got to a point where Edo State matters so much in this equation like every other state, but what matters most right now is what we do when it comes to 2023 for the presidential elections. And of a fact, it is obvious, even to a blind person, that if the side loyal to the governor of Edo State holds sway, Governor Nyesom Wike will not get one delegate vote from Edo State, because there was no way the side loyal to the governor of Edo State was going to support Governor Nyesom Wike's presidential ambition. And many people equally did forecast that the governor's side was rooting for Atiku, while the Obi side they were rooting for what's it called for Wike. And so the tussle really was a messy, very unattractive tussle for a small state like Edo State that many of us believe can actually honestly be harmonized without issues. However, let us leave that aside. Before I continue with this, I want to quickly, put something there out there. I am somebody by the grace of God. I have my own ideas of how I feel life should be. I have my own worldview. I've experienced a lot of things. I've been to different places across this world. I know what works in places where society is stable, where justice is prevalent, Because at the end of the day, real peace is not necessarily the absence of violence, but it's the presence of justice. And I love justice, as much as possible. And I equally am a man too who accepts, this is not about me, but I accept criticism a lot. I want to see the other views, I accommodate other views. But when it becomes a matter where it now stretches beyond just, people, differing on opinions, on issues and all of that, and began to, take it beyond, began to become verbally abusive and all of that, that becomes really an issue. And I have been suffering that. Since the emergence of the governor of Edo State as governor of Edo State, because of the role that some of us played and all of that, people have regularly, kept it as a duty to not just express blame, to say that I am the person who made the governor of Edo State become governor, or rather one of those who made the governor become governor of Edo State. They just insult my person, my family, a lot of, some even threaten. I've said this publicly on different occasions and all of that, because of what is happening in Edo State currently, and so many things. And so in recent time, what I normally don't do, I don't subscribe to it. It's not my style. On Facebook and even, I've begun to block people that are becoming very antagonistic. So I'm equally saying this, just to let people know that, even for those who, because of this broadcast, will be making useless comments, casting aspersion at my person, and all of that. If I cannot take it, I'm just going to simply block you. Yesterday, somebody wrote me, was writing. The next person just started insulting me because of what is happening in the state and all of that. I want to make one point straight. And I am saying this very clearly, without regret. If the situation of 2020 in Edo State replayed itself, I will stand by Governor Godwin Obaseki of Edo State. I supported the governor of Edo State because I believed very strongly that of all those on the field, and between the two of them, the major political parties, he was the man best positioned to reposition Edo State, to provide governance the way it ought to be. And if that happens again today, I will still stand with the governor of Edo State strongly. And without regret, today, I still believe that the governor of Edo State, what he is doing in Edo State by way of governance, I am not sure anybody on the field in 2020 would have done that. The governor of Edo State, it is no fluke that he was, named the Vanguard Best Governor of the Year. So people should not use political disagreements that will favor the interest of those fighting, not Edo State people, and turn it around to try to make it look like, oh, this governor is not working. I have assessed, and I've equally said publicly that we are going to, my team, we are looking for a time where we are going to start looking at the chronicles of governance in Edo State under this administration and the dividends of governance in Edo State. And we juxtapose it against the past and the expected future. I tell you, when the governor of Edo State leaves office today, in less than 2-3 years, if we do not have a government that will match or better what the structure is putting in place in Edo State, Edo people will start singing his praises. Today, Ali is immortalized in Edo State. When he was governor of Edo State, people did not see what he was doing. And I think that this man has probably even surpassed that. This man, without, and look, I don't agree with the policies of the governor of Edo State. His approach to things on everything, on very many things I don't agree, and I've come out publicly to say the things I don't agree with. And I'm going to equally say some of the things I don't agree with right here. Okay? But as far as governance is concerned, we can count that Edo State is being transformed. We can count that, the temperature in Edo State, the economic temperature in Edo State is changing for the good. We can count visible structures in place that the governor, Obaseki is putting in place to make Edo State a better place, a more sanitized place, and all of that. So I will not shy away from that. However, I remember back in the University of Benin, and I was in a meeting with some people yesterday. I made this reference, and somebody, replied in a certain way that I liked. Back in the University of Benin, you are told, by the lecturers in the University of Benin to say that students are judged based on character and in learning. In learning, when you are smart, you are doing well in your courses and all of that, that's your learning. But you're equally expected to be respectful, to do things, moderately and all of that, for your character to be accepted and all of that. But when you are smart and you are intelligent, you are having A's in your courses, and all of that, and you are insulting your lecturers, you are disrespectful to your colleagues, your character is not good, so to speak, or people consider your character not good and all of that, you may have issues with the school because some of the ratings that you are being rated in school has to do with your own character, combining it with how well you are doing in your courses. So I liken that to the governor of Edo State, whom I think, based on my own initial assessment right now of what governance is in Edo State, I think that in learning, which is delivering the dividends of governance, the governor of Edo State is meeting my expectations reasonably. Reasonably. We are here to do a holistic assessment because we are going to look at the campaign promises of the governor and look at what is on ground, how far he has met the promises made. And we will start making our judgment from there. But reasonably, he is meeting the reason why I came to support him. On the issues of his own relationship with the politicians, and has been able to manage the expectations of the politicians, even those who supported him that have been sidelined and all of that, I have issues. And I probably think that the governor of Edo State has not done well on some of those things. Because if we could score him, give him a pass mark on his management of relationships, of the people that have been around him, of the politicians, and still meet the interest of Edo State people by way of governance, then it will fly high. So I think the defect is that we have issues, with, his government relationship with some of the other people on the ground. And I think that all of these things can meet midway, meet halfway, and Edo State people will still be happy, and there will be less rancor, So I think that there's great defect on that part. But the reason why I came out and my team and the generality of Edo people was that Edo people need to see governance in action to the benefit of Edo State people. And that reason, I want to say publicly, even before we start our own, official assessment, I want to say that reasonably, I am okay with the governor of Edo State. Who want go knock your head for wall? Go knock your head for wall. I think it's enough is enough as far as that front is concerned. However, I think the future is bleak right now for this same governor of Edo State because of, the not too okay way of managing the political relations. Why is it bleak? Yesterday, we had the primaries of the PDP. For many of us, it was going to be, a hallmark. I mean, it was going to be an event that would determine so many things in Edo State. Meanwhile, don't forget that just less than a week ago, we had the Edo State primaries at the House of Reps level, Senate, and all of those primaries. We had dual primaries. What's it called? The governors had their own. What's its name? For instance, for Senate seats, the governor side produced someone like Matthew Dwayne for House of Senate. Meanwhile, the Danobi side produced Ogbede Hama for Senate. So we had this division. And so there are still court processes ongoing here and there, courts and all that. So when it got to the issue of the presidential, primaries, Edo State came with two teams of delegates. One for the side of the governor and one for the side of the Danobi. So it was hugely dramatic yesterday by the information we are being fed with. The social media of the Edo State world of social media was awash with the groups, the urchins loyal to Dan Obi, springing out so many information here and there. Those loyal to that of the governor of Edo State, they were equally doing the same thing, countering each other. It was very dramatic on social media yesterday. But I was waiting. I wanted to see who and who. Meanwhile, prior to this time, it was like almost on a daily basis, 2-3 days too. We were having like court judgments coming out every day. Today, the government is on the lead by way of a new court judgment. Within hours, the Danobi side is on the lead by another court judgment. The governor side is on the lead. Judgment and counter judgments here and there. Disgraceful, honestly. Shameful, to say the least. Now, so yesterday, according to what we had, okay, what flowed into the comrade show, arena, the governor's team went there and they were to be accredited as, the delegates from Edo State. The Danobi side came and presented a new court judgment that gave them an edge. And the PDP caucus began to meet. And knowing fully well that if they don't do the right thing, it may further jeopardize the entire primary process. So they looked at the court case that came out that was in favor of the Danobi side, a recent court case. So they had to accredit the Danobi's delegates. And the Danobi's delegates were the ones who now voted. And expectedly, they would vote for Wike. If the governor's delegates were accredited, those ones expectedly would have voted for Atiku. Now, there are a few implications here. One of them, which is not a public space, is that, but it's an open secret. Everybody's talking about it. That the governor of Edo State is a likely option of choice for Atiku to choose as a running mate. It's been peddled that if Atiku wins, the governor of Edo State, Governor Baseke, will be on the list of his choice of running mates. But right now, that Peter Obi is no longer right there in the midst. That was one. Now, expectedly, if you have to be a running mate of somebody, this is another thing that we're not looking at as an implication. Okay, now that Atiku has won, apparently it's obvious that the Edo State delegates did not vote for Atiku; they went for Wike. Now, the question on the lips of many people have called me this morning to talk about this is what now has Edo State contributed to Atiku? Well, as we said those days when we were in secondary school, when we do debate, we say, I leave that question for my opponents to answer. On the part of Edo State, there's been loud celebrations across Edo State over the people that have emerged in the primaries conducted by the different sides. On the part, the ladder of these were the ones conducted on the part of the governor's side, where people like Matthew Doyukine emerged for the Senate in Oredo. I'm talking about Edo South Senatorial District. We took Bebe Herman equally emerging from the Danobi side. Now, looking at this arrangement now made to now make the Danobi side vote in the presidential primaries, I think the implication of this is that this quickly translates, in my own layman's view, into the fact that at the end of the day, the Danobi side will be held as authentic in Edo State. And if that is so, it means that the arrangements, on the part of the governor of Edo State and the primaries head, would just be null and void if that is the case. And that may likely be the case. Very bitter, but very likely true, because of what has happened right now in the presidential primaries. How this will not be the case, well, with that insult, let us begin to convince ourselves. Let anybody begin to argue for that. But this is what I'm already seeing right now. That if the Peter Obi fraction can hold sway in the presidential primaries, it implies, from a layman's view, that this may trickle down into the states, which means that we are probably going to see, probably is what I use, probably going to see the likelihood that the Danobi side will be the one to be recognized at the Senate level, the primary, the House of Reps level, and even the House of Assembly. Now, I did say that the future may be very bleak earlier. And the reason why I said so was that if what I'm saying now, this analysis I'm giving right now, becomes true, okay, very early next year there's going to be House of Assembly elections, which means that the House of Assembly is going to be made up of people who are, you will say, political enemies of the governor of Edo State. And what does that do? What that does is that immediately the governor is going to inherit a new House of Assembly that is made up of people who want to kick his ass, people who want him out. And so people can easily imply that this governor of Edo State, may likely face an impeachment. However, what I'm saying right now is my own layman's view of this matter. If there are arguments to say that the governor's side will still hold sway at the level of Edo State with the primaries head for House of Assembly, for the National Assembly, and all of that, then it remains to be seen. That again, if that happens, it will change the dynamics of the process and all of that. However, looking at all of these calculations, where what you know today in Edo State politics may actually change in the next 1 or 2 hours and all of that, I still believe very strongly that if these politicians can begin to think of the interest of Edo State people more than their personal interests, then these things again can equally change better, not just for them, for everybody. Again, there is nothing in Edo State for Governor Wike to fight for anymore. He has released all the multi-millions and billions of naira or dollars to the process. Now he has lost the primaries. So there is nothing anymore for Governor Nyesom Wike. There's nothing anymore. And to tell you how flawed all of these things are, Governor Nyesom Wike, Accountant General, has been accused of embezzling 117 billion naira. If I'm not mistaken, I think information has it that he is the same man that the PDP in Rivers State has thrown up as the governorship flag bearer of the state. You see the reasons why, Peter Obi's foresight will speak for him. We'll come to Peter Obi. I'm just trying to establish some Edo State dynamics. Now, this is state of Edo State after today. Now, the options available for the governor of Edo State, because honestly, I want to see this man complete his tenure. I hope that what I've said now, okay, will not be the case. Okay, I want to see him complete his tenure because we can see evidences of all that he's putting on ground that will benefit Edo people continuously, even while he's no longer there. And so, my own support for the governor of Edo State is to the extent to which he delivers on the dividends of governance as far as Edo State is concerned. Publicly, I say to the world, there is no other social contract I have with the governor of Edo State. I stand here to say very publicly, I don't owe him or anybody in his administration one dime. One dime. The person who was abusing me, raining abuse on me, if I could see some of these people and they're in an environment where I live like this, okay, I easily quickly see the face of the law, for character defamation, for, what's it called, for abuse, and all, I mean, I would be in my right to quickly do that. But, I don't know them. The one who was abusing me yesterday was doing it from France. He was using a French number. I've stored that's human being's number. It was really serious abusing. Not to shit. Anyway, I put that aside. Now, like I was saying, I don't owe him a dime. What I threw into the ring was my passion for Edo State, and I don't regret it because reasonably, the man is meeting the reasons why I threw my hat in the ring. One of the reasons to get governance work for the people. Where are you going to start from? I have looked at the ground. There are countless things. Today, right from Ologbo, Osoma Power Plant, what we have not seen before, light is beginning to get stable, particularly public light, that the people are enjoying. Look at all the road networks leading to the town center. Look at all the road networks to the villages, opening up the rural areas of Edo State. Look at the provision of water in places like Irwa. Look at what is happening to Ekpoma. Not just a governor whose hand we can see in Benin City, but whose hand we can see almost everywhere across the state. And the process is still ongoing. We cannot live in denial. Don't come out and insult me to say, oh, I supported the governor. May this governor, as far as dividends is concerned, reasonably, he's meeting my need. And for you, come to, wow, what is he doing? What is he doing? Look, this man did not meet Edo State that was in Birmingham that we needed to transform to London. Or Edo State that was in Manchester that we needed to upgrade to London. This man met Edo State that was dilapidated beyond what's it called? Reasonable evaluations. This man met an Edo State that was not in any way near anything like, good this thing. And so, if for those of you probably is expecting that, oh, bad, you go to Edo State right now, you see flowers everywhere, oh, you see this and that. Come on, it's not going to happen. What is going to happen is what we are seeing right now. Consistent effort to ensure that all the secondary roads leading to the primary roads, they are tied. Consistent effort to ensure that every major secondary roads and primary roads, they are all having street lights that people can walk at night, crime can reduce, economic activities can improve. A government in place to ensure that, okay, we have alternative to BEDC, the electricity provider, that if only we can just pay what is demanded, even in our own homes, we can have steady electricity that can drive SMEs. A government that is creating room for people to be trained, for the human beings to be trained, to have the keys to be able to become independent and employ others. A government to create an environment where, at least people can chase, their daily bread in some level of peace. Some of you have accused me to, oh man, they are Fulani herdsmen, operating in some bushes here and there, blah 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 blah. And I tell you, without excusing what the state government can do, but the effort of the Edo State vigilante we can see, and the issue of Fulani herdsmen and the insecurity, it is not a matter that is peculiar to Edo State. This is a matter we've been talking about where the federal government of Nigeria have failed us woefully. Look at all the other structures. The dead school of nursing, revamped, in operations today. The old library, destroyed, currently being rebuilt for a multi-purpose activity for the benefit of Edo State. What can we name? Igoriahi. What can we name? This man's hands is everywhere as far as governance is concerned. So if you come out to me to say this and that and that and that, your sentiment about what is happening in politics with the people who are having selfish interest to themselves, with the government included in that particular mix, don't mix it with my very astute vision to support the governor of Edo State. I supported him not because of what he's going to do in politics. I would have expected that they harmonize themselves in politics to have generated more for the interest of Edo State. They are fighting now. Nobody's fighting to say we are fighting the governor because the governor did not build a skyscraper like this. We are fighting the governor because the governor did not provide this, for what's it called, for Ring Road. We are fighting the governor because the governor did not provide water in Ekpoma. We are fighting the governor. They are not doing that. We are fighting because we want to be in control of the structure of the party in Edo State. So when you're in control of the structure of the party, that is where more money will come to you as an independent person, not for the interest of Edo State. So, for those who cross the line, if you want to disagree with me on issues, I welcome it, man. I leave it there open. People disagree with me on issues, I leave it open. But when it becomes personal attacks, abuse, I will not travel that same journey with you. I will just simply block you. It's not my style, but that is the way probably I will get my own sanity. And for the interest of the other people, like I said earlier, I've done everything I've done in the interest of Edo State, driven out of my conviction, out of my passion. And it is not a crime for me to stand to say I support somebody that I believe in. And for those who know me, even if the whole world is going one way, if I'm convinced that this is the way I should go, I would rather succeed with that way or fail with the way. And that is the exact case right now with me and Peter Obi. I don't know him from Adam, but I have looked at his resume. I have looked at his life's trajectory. I have taken time to study him. People have come to say, comrade, leave Peter Obi, we'll go for PDP. My mind is made. Somebody even called me yesterday and said, man, suppose Atiku now chooses the governor of Edo State to become his running mate. What will you not do and all of that? My own drive is not driven like that. Peter Obi, as far as I'm concerned, is the savior of Nigeria from 2023. Let all the angels of heaven stand in APC. Let them share themselves and stand with PDP. I tell you, the real answer to Nigeria's issues of the future is Peter Gregory Obi. Nothing's going to sway me. Not money, nothing. And I'm grateful to God that I am not in a place where I consider myself hungry. As a matter of fact, God helping me. I believe that I've paid people, multitude of people who are benefiting from the assistance God is giving me quietly. So it is not anybody's 1 naira or 2 naira or 3 naira that's going to make a difference in my life. I'm convinced. So it is exactly what happened to Governor Obaseki. Governor Obaseki is not my friend. My relationship with Governor Obaseki is to the extent to which he delivers on the governance as far as Edo State is concerned, to the benefit of Edo State as a state. That's my interest. And I agreed very strongly that I would have expected better management of other issues, relationships. And I think that the government is lacking in those. If he can get those corrected, and there's still time, I'm sure. Come back home. Call all of these fractions together. We are those state people. We shouldn't be fighting. Call everybody together to a round table. Let us meet ourselves halfway. Solve all of this political imbroglio. Redirect things in Edo State. And I'm sure he can do it if he's willing to. That may just solve that. But my own push would be continuously. Nobody right now, none of you right, nobody right now has come out to say, oh, the only government in the state, Nigeria has approved a minimum wage of 30,000. Some states cannot even pay. This man has increased Edo State minimum wage to 40,000. He has started paying. His political whatever fight is happening, people are not fighting him to say you should have increased this money to 50,000 minimum wage to Edo State people. Let it be on policy. That's not what the fight is about. If the fight is on policy that will benefit the people of Edo State, then I will be gladly embrace such a fight on behalf of the people of Edo State. So, whether we like it or not, in the recent history of this country, of Edo State, Governor Obaseki is way ahead the governors we've seen. Right from the days of Miati and Lucky Benedion, way ahead of all of them by way of governance. By way of governance and delivering all the dividends of democracy. For me, he's meeting that expectation reasonably. And that is why I voted for him. That is why I supported. That is why I galvanized. I knocked on doors. I became foe. I became enemies to people because of that. Because I wanted a man that would stand and look at the interest of Edo State first and foremost. And he's doing that to a reasonable extent. So when the time comes to, we are going to put all of these in perspective and start analyzing them, just opposing them against the backdrop of the promises made to the people of Edo State. He's paying 40,000 naira now as minimum wage. As minimum wage. Which governor in Nigeria has done that? So you think it is fluke that this man is the Vanguard governor of the year? It's no fluke. It's because the man is walking the walk. So the other part of politics that some people become sentimental about, emotional about, and you now take the matter out to say, oh, because we supported the governor, so therefore we become enemies. You start casting aspersions, insulting. Look, you can disagree with us that we supported the governor, but keep it on issues. Don't insult me, and I don't even know you. So Nigerians, I just wanted to make this because it's becoming very unhealthy. It's becoming very disturbing to my own, what's it called, mental health. I just sit down, people just pick my number, they begin to, write. Some just call, there was a woman who just called one day. No good man, no good. In fact, the first word that came from her mouth was very strong, insulting words. She just said, ranting. I just quickly she called the one called from Spain. And many of you are even doing this. It is not because you have a reassessment of what governance is in Edo State. You are doing it because you have been fed by people who are not profiting from the process, the political process in Edo State. And so therefore, they've told you, but what they said is, oh, the man is not doing anything, don't do anything at the end of the day. That's what they say. And so you hear, you pick it, and you begin to attack some of us. So it doesn't work that way. So Nigerians, I was just trying to establish, a base that this is the implication of Atiku's victory to Edo State. That now that Atiku has won, for the idea that the governor is going to be may be a choice of vice president, it now becomes an issue of how much did you contribute to the primaries. It's out there. I'm just bold enough to say it out publicly. Now, the Danobi side, having been allowed to become the official delegates of the PDP, my layman's point of view now is that implies that They may not be the ones to be recognized, even the primaries already conducted for House of Rep, for Senate, and for House of Assembly. And if that becomes the case, okay, that will not sit well with the governor of Edo State. However, I advocate that the governor should now, call all of these fractions together, and of course, call for an arrangement for all of them to meet midway. And if that is to happen, I hope it does. If that is to happen, I will appeal to the governor of Edo State that there are people, a number of people that he has not looked to, people who were there when it was raining, who stood in the rain with him. Many of them are lamenting. Some still equally reach out to us. The rationale behind some people in government that we don't know where they were when the rain was falling, but they are not the ones now just coming from left, right, side corner to come and determine the affairs in the state. It may not be very, healthy. There are so many persons around the governor there, and these are the people who are supposed to be the frontline soldiers of the governor. I think the governor should look inwards and put all that right. But whatever the governor does it's up to him. Prove as long as he keeps on with the process of ensuring that Edo State is a better place for Edo State people, for me that will be satisfactory. Every other thing is up to him. And if by tomorrow, we assess that the governor is not delivering on the dividends of democracy to the people of Edo State, I tell you that I will be on the front line, okay, pointing some of these things out, and I'll be on the front line, criticizing these. But so far, I think that, reasonably the government is meeting the expectations of some of us who came out to support him. So on that note, Nigerians, looking at what has happened in PDP, looking at Atiku being thrown out, we have seen the connivance of the northern, political elite in the north of Nigeria, to ensure that power remains in the north. It's all a game for them. You understand what I'm saying now? And all of that. But that is not an issue right now. Nigeria is decadent. Nigeria is in the red. This country is wallowing in pain. The future of this country right now is fragile. It's fragile because if we don't get it right in 2023, okay, then it will be no locus standi for anybody, to begin to advocate, to say, okay, why are people agitating? Because there are a segment of this Nigerian state that have never felt included, okay, because of these arrangements and all of that. I'll say, each time I talk, sometimes it looks like we don't mention the West. The political elite in the West, okay, without fear of intimidation. I want to say that you guys need to sit your ass down, because if Nigeria has gone this bad, our Western political elites, the Yoruba political leaders, have contributed hugely to it, because the Northerners have found the Yorubas a very good ally to keep Nigeria where Nigeria is. Look at what is happening right now. Okay, the Yorubas have made huge contributions and all of that. And Yorubas appear to be very happy when the Northerners say, oh, we cannot give a chance to an Igbo man to become president of Nigeria. They seem to profit from that because they can easily just coil and take the vice president role and be happy with that. You understand? And then the next time it will be president for the Yoruba and all of that. So they are quiet. It looks like a battle between the Hausas and the Igbos. And meanwhile, the Hausas are only strengthened because they have the Yoruba political elites fanning their wings of hate, of their wings of injustice, thereby robbing all Nigeria, the entire Nigerian state, into this web of injustice, unfairness, lack of equity, and lack of concern for equity. So, Nigerians, irrespective of what has happened, I've congratulated Atiku, yes, but I've equally picked holes in the process, not just because of the primaries they had, but all that have been happening linked to these primaries. One human being that we cannot afford to overlook. It doesn't matter. I've said in my last broadcast, I said, if things must change, okay, they must take a different turn. We have seen PDP for many years. We have seen APC in the last 7 to 8 years. If it is going by way of political party, Nigerians should understand that these people are never to be supported. Atiku Abubakar we have today was vice president of this country. We can tell. To the extent that even his own boss accused him of massive corruption. He has spent billions right now as alleged. To get to this point, if you make him president, you make the mistake to make Atiku president, only you can decipher what Nigeria will be. Whether Nigeria will change from what it is right now or Nigeria will get better, only you can decipher. So, my people, right now, very soon, the issue of PVCs, will close. The window is still open. If you are 18 years and above, a boy or a girl, a male or a female, a woman or a man, you don't reach 18 years and you don't cross on. Whether you cripple, you blind, you not get one leg, whatever it is, whatever the situation is. If you are watching me, you are on your sick bed. I pray God Almighty to meet you at the point of your health need. Requests from your sick bed. If you don't have a PVC, that you want to have your PVC. Right now, this is the battle of, the people's resolve. And what has always been. Atiku belongs to the class of what has always been. All of them in APC belong to the class of what has always been. Now we have a chance for once as a people to choose what has not always been. To make a choice and stand with somebody that is believable. A man who has done it before. A man whom we can believe will change the fortune of this country. Because he's prepared for it. When his company tells you how, you will see it with your koro how. He will not just come and say APC, power to the people, PDP, and that's his campaign. No, he will tell you these are the issues and these are the ways we are going to solve it. And this is where we are going to raise the money to solve these issues. That man is Peter Gregory Obi. Peter Obi. To tell you what I'm talking about, I think I've had this video image now. This is something that came out from PDP ground yesterday. What can you see? Bundles of dollars shared by some of those who were aspiring to become PDP leaders, flag bearers. Bundles of dollars meant for delegates to sway them to vote. It came out from the floor of the PDP yesterday, to the extent that EFCC had to go to that ground and started searching delegates. It was that bad. So, as I congratulate the man, I know that the process that brought this man it is the same old story. That's what they doing before. Nigerians cannot afford to live by this. Please, if you are there, share this broadcast. The reason why I advocate that you should share is because everybody should have that power of hearing. For those who are Christians, say the Bible talk and say, he say, faith cometh by hearing by the word of God. If we don't hear, we cannot be faithful. I beg, share. That could be your role. Share anything that is possible to share that can speak to these things that we're talking about right now. Keep sharing. Nigerians need to hear that where we have been. Look, we are able to. I've talked about the northern, politicians and what they have been doing. Look, go to the north. That is where we have the highest level of uneducated people in Nigeria. They are even suffering more. A few political class in the north, they just keep it that way. They are happy to just come out, kill one or two cows, and everybody will come and eat, and they just begin to say, and when it's time for election, they just tell them, it is this person's picture, they will all just queue. They are not empowered. And the northern political leaders keep it so. We want somebody who will liberate everybody, liberate the north, liberate the south, liberate the west, liberate the east. Give us all the opportunity for every child to at least have that glory, to be that empowered, to stand independently. So there is no comparison. I can tell you, if Atiku become president, Nigeria will not be different from what it is right now, and we are probably going to have more crisis. Peter Gregory will be the answer. Go and get your PVC. Somebody called me once, wrote me, told me he's 50 years old, he has never voted, he has never participated in politics, but he listened to me, he's convinced that he's going to get his PVC. He will even convince his own clan to ensure that they vote for Peter Gregory will be. Look, man, that's what we need to do in this election. This election right now is not just about any human being, it's about saving this country. I live where I am. I'm in the UK. So many Nigerians are here, scattered abroad. Do you think we are completely very happy that we are here making contributions to the development of another man's land, and our land is there, and people are running away? Do you know how many nurses I encounter every day that are Nigerians who fly into this country every day, leaving Nigeria, Yorubas, Igbos, from everywhere? They are happy to leave Nigeria to come and earn a living abroad because the country is chasing them away. Our schools are on strike right now. Schools are on strike right now. Students are not in school. They will resume tomorrow and ask them to face exam. And by tomorrow, we start complaining that we are coming up, we have to have baked graduates. You go into Nigerian school, you know where you go. When you enter the school, you don't know when you are leaving because strike is going to come. Some students were talking that day about even when school resumes right now, they are not even sure that they are not going to go back to strike within the next 2 months because of this government that does not care. It doesn't even understand the importance of education. Peter Obi understands that the most important component of state is how well we are able to empower the people. And the strength to power is education. And it's going to be a priority for this government. Let's not miss it. Let's not miss a Peter Obi's presidency. Somebody was saying the other day, I was talking about weak power, blah, 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 blah. I said, look, we do not need strong men. We need men that will strengthen our institutions, that will give us policies that will empower our people, that will make Nigeria work for the ordinary common man. Those are the kind of people we need. And Peter Obi fits into that class. So I beg with my heart. And there is nothing. This is, in fact, somebody. I will always refer to people. Somebody wrote me and said, "Why are you taking Peter Obi's matters personal?" I'm not taking Peter Obi's matter personal. I'm taking Nigeria's matter personal. Anybody that I can see on the field that will help to make Nigeria a better place, I will take it personal. Because we have been too long in the darkness. Look at insecurity. Who is safe? And yet, our own youth, our own class, we are the ones fronting from some of these old men. We are the ones carrying guns on their behalf. We are the ones. Look at what happened in Port Harcourt. Over 19 persons died because of what? Elections. Why do we have that? I'm a member of the Labour Party here in the UK. We regularly have local elections here and there. I vote. The last election that, you won't even know that the election is taking place. You won't even know. Last minute, at about 5 o'clock or so, was when I remember, I have not voted. I was actually passing by the voting center. I saw people coming out of the center where I normally vote. I never voted. I quickly went home, collect my card, and I went to vote. I don't even need to collect cards. I just quickly went in there with my documents. Looked at it, checked my name was on it, took my list, entered the bus. I voted and I left. You won't even know anything is happening, and yet election is taking place. But in Rivers State, 19 people died. And that same picture you're going to get around many other places across this country. Young men carrying guns. In Edo State the other day when they were doing their primaries in one of those local governments whether in Ekpoma, in Edo North, people were shooting guns because of elections. And they were all young people. Please share this broadcast, man. Share this broadcast. I'm a young person. I refuse to carry gun for a politician. I refuse to kill another Nigerian for a politician. I refuse it. Fellow Nigerians, I normally try to keep my broadcasts within 1 hour, but we don't take because of the way matter be. I want to appeal to you guys. We have a chance for a new Nigeria. Peter Obi is the face of that Nigeria. Whatever happens with PDP doesn't matter. Whatever is going to happen with APC tomorrow doesn't matter. What matters is, please, even what we are saying right now, our PVC is key in this moment, in this time. It's a defining moment. Please go and get your PVC, and you are there. You can talk to somebody, you can talk to people, you can do this, you can do that. Please do what you can, what you could. Let's give a Nigeria of tomorrow that we can be proud of. Let's get to ourselves. Let us elect Peter Gregory Obi. Let us support him. He's now in Labour Party. In my next broadcast, I'm going to be talking about Peter Obi and the Labour Party and the need for Nigerians to come together in this massive alliance where we make a difference. I have told my people, I've told Nigerians, we must commit ourselves to giving Peter Obi 20 million votes. 20 million votes across Nigeria. My name is Lamte Oriahi. It's been the Comrade Show. I'll see you again. Bye for now.
Comrade Show. Wait. Comrade Lamte Oriahi. Like us. Follow us. And be the first to know. This is the Comrade Show.
Are you a business owner? Do you make your own products? This is your best opportunity ever. Register your brand now with the first and largest marketplace promoting Nigerian-made products. Get access to over 17 million shoppers and customers currently in need of your products. Download on Google Play Store now to register or visit ekioja.com. Focus on creating your passion. Leave the marketing to us.